Welcome back. We're now a year into the COVID-19 pandemic and conspiracy theories continue to abound. And while they're nothing new, they become dangerous when they enter the public discourse during a pandemic. And right now, vaccine conspiracy theories could throw a spanner in the works that will be hard to deal with. The spreading of misinformation during such a time has been called an infodemic. Let's discuss this infodemic with futurist Dr Njeri Mwagiru from the Institute for Futures Research at the University of Stellenbosch Business School. Doctor, thank you very much for your time and for speaking to us. How prevalent do you think the problem of misinformation is at the moment as we deal with the vaccine rollout and its early stages?
I think we're seeing a trend of misinformation being quite prevalent, not only in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic, although it's having particular impacts because of the pandemic, but we are seeing in misinformation and an infodemic, fake news being trends that have been with us for the last few years.
We've done numerous interviews here on eNCA to demystify and myth-bust around COVID-19 vaccines specifically, and many print and broadcast platforms have done the same. But do you think that makes a tangible impact on public opinion in the face of vast social media campaigns to spread misinformation?
I think every media organization has a responsibility to ensure that they are sharing verified news and doing what they can to bust the myths, as you mentioned. And even though there will be platforms that continue to manipulate and misinform the public, I think that media companies have a responsibility to ensure that they stop this in any capacity that they're able to.
Do you think it's enough, though? Because if the vast majority of information is being spread on social media, does the responsibility not also lie more heavily with social media platforms to try and curb misinformation? And are they doing enough?
Yes, I think the media approach is only one in terms of responses to the infodemic or to curbing conspiracy theories. Outside of media and social media, education institutions can also play a role in terms of ensuring that we have the tools of critical thinking, analytical thinking, discernment to be able to navigate the masses of information that are available to us. And then beyond education systems and beyond media taking responsibility, I think it would also be great to see a growing trust in our leaderships and in our institutions so that false narratives don't overwhelm the dominant and official line, so that we see leadership and administration building the trust of populations to have faith in the news that we are receiving from their particular levels.
Do you think this broader infodemic suggests that the public has lost faith in science or fact-based news agencies?
It definitely is an indication of this decline in a lack of trust, but it's also a signal of other dynamics. So conspiracy theories tend to thrive in contexts of uncertainty. They also tend to thrive where there's a sense of economic, social, and political powerlessness. They offer responses, they offer answers to complicated questions, and this is why they tend to be very relatable. So I feel that in order for conspiracy theories to be addressed, we need to approach them from these multiple angles to ensure that we're stopping the infodemic and ensuring that informed news bits, informed information is being shared with the public.
So that uncertainty and anxiety, insecurity reigns generally. Why do you think now we're seeing a spike in the prevalence of misinformation or this infodemic becoming more tangible to us? Is it because we're experiencing this global COVID-19 pandemic?
There's definitely the issue of hyperconnectivity. So the fact that most of us are online and have access to a lot of information and news, and we're interconnected to one another and sharing information between ourselves, this definitely helps the spread of information, both false and verified information. But the anxiety with relation to the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccines, particularly from an African context, also has some historical roots. So we do know that historically scientific experimentation on the continent hasn't always been ethical. So I believe that the COVID-19 pandemic, the uncertainty that it's bringing, linked in with some historical experience where there continues to be some questions raised, are contributing factors.
So how do we beat it?
I think individuals definitely have a role to play in terms of making sure we fact-checked our information. Media houses have a role to play to ensure that they're sharing verified news and not spreading false narratives. And as I mentioned, educational institutions and leadership to ensure that the information shared out there is believable and that the narratives that come through the official lines can be trusted, because we've developed a leadership culture where we believe that the leadership will take decisions that are for the best interest of the public, not just for expediency's sake, but for the long term as well. So addressing it will be a multi-pronged approach.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us.